universe will definitely have a creator. And you
Mhm.
also mentioned certain statements given by some of the uh, theistic scientists. Apart from this, you also mentioned if there's a design, then there has to be a design maker.
Mhm.
So all these things were discussed. There was one more I'm unable to recollect it.
Okay. So creation, we discussed three things. Creation implies creator, design implies designer, and law implies lawmaker. Law implies lawmaker and also lawkeeper. So when somebody has created law, they also want to make sure that people are following the laws. So God not only makes the laws, but He is also the law keeper. He's watching every second of our life. He's watching what we are doing, whatever we are thinking. So God is omniscient. So He knows everything that's happening in the material world. He's fully cognizant about what's happening in everyone's life. Okay, so he knows what decision we are going to make next minute. He knows what we are thinking right now. He knows what we are going to think the next minute. He knows everything. At the same time, it's not like everything is predestined. Okay, there's a free will. It's all dynamic. The jiva has free will to make choices, but God knows what choices we are going to make. Okay, it's a very interesting phenomena. We'll discuss about that in great detail when we come to the topic in Bhagavad Gita. But uh, yeah, so creator, designer, lawmaker, what else?
We discussed how even the scientists like Albert Einstein and Newton, they believe that
Yeah.
there has to be a powerful force, which is why there is this huge universe around us and this
Mhm.
structure and this system.
Yeah.
So they were also they believed in God. These
Yeah.
were the scientists.
Yeah.
We discussed about chance theory,
Chance
how we
theory,
cannot be
Big Bang
just
theory. Yeah. Yeah.
Big Bang theory, chance theory.
Hmm. So we tried taking two approaches in our effort to discover the root. We try taking two approaches. One is trying to discover the root using a scientific method, and second approach is trying to discover the root using religion and scriptures. So trying to discover the root using the first approach, which is science. Uh, so uh, we discussed two theories, chance theory and Big Bang theory. There is another theory that we did not discuss last week. What's the third theory from science that explains the the root cause of our existence in this creation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Uh, is it matter?
No, no. So just like how we discussed chance theory and Big Bang theory. So
Mhm.
Big Bang theory, chance theory, they say that the origin of this existence, for example, Big Bang theory, it says the origin of this existence is one single dot, a small
Mhm.
point, which is um, which is fully it's condensed with a lot of um, um, density. Yeah, density. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's a highly dense point. At some point, it got exploded, and that's how this entire universe was created. And then chance theory. Chance theory says that this entire universe just occurred randomly. Okay. So what's the other theory from science? Yeah, Krishna.
Multiverse.
Multiverse theory. But before multiverse, they should explain how that one single universe came all about, right? Single universe or the life in that universe. We're talking about two things, right? The uh, origin of this universe and the origin of life in the universe.
simulation. So it's that we are living inside a simulation.
Uh-huh. Okay. Another popular theory, actually.
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Yes.
is it energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it can only be transferred?
No. That's law of conservation of energy. Yeah, but scientists never never use
Mm-hmm.
that law to explain the origin of the universe or origin of life in the universe. So another theory that explains the origin of life in this universe is Darwin's evolution theory, right? So Darwin's evolution theory says that we all came from monkeys. If we all came from monkeys, then there should be some monkeys in our ancestry. One of our grandparents or great grandparents or their great grandparents must be monkeys. But we don't have any history of any monkeys in our ancestry. So Darwin's evolution theory is wrong, right? Darwin's evolution theory basically says that in the beginning there were only monkeys, and then slowly life evolved, and then that's how human beings were created, which is completely wrong. So now, after after having rebuked the scientific approaches which explain the origin of creation and origin of the life in the creation, then the only best approach for us is religion or scriptures. That's the only approach for us to discover the root, to know whether God exists or not. Okay? So, where did we stop last week? We discussed a little bit about karma theory. Then we discussed different things in the creation, like beautiful flowers, great powerful jumbo jets. Yeah, I think this is where we stop. Hmm? So now going back to these slides here, right? Uh, there are several things that we see in this universe, which are very some of them are very powerful, some of them are very beautiful, some of them are very gigantic, and so on. Uh, so can you think of some things in this universe that will astonish you? Were you ever astonished by looking at things in this world? Stars, okay. Hmm? Sorry? Death. Okay. When I say astonished, pleasantly astonished. Yeah.
These northern lights.
Northern lights. Yes. Yeah. Very good. Yes. Southern?
Solar eclipse.
Solar eclipse. Yeah. Very good.
Milky Way.
Milky Way. Yeah. Very good. Anything else?
Rainbows.
Huh?
Rainbows.
Rainbow. Yes. Wonderful. It's a beautiful painting, huh? Without any canvas. Yeah. So, rainbow. And what else?
Mount Rainier.
Mount Rainier. Yeah. Very good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Beautiful flowers and animals. Okay. Yeah.
Hare Krishna
Let's
Prabhu.
Neha.
So, how animals communicate within each other, with themselves, without talking?
Okay.
So, that is something astonishing for
Yeah.
me.
Without any language, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Without any language, how they communicate and understand their feelings, and yeah, very good. Okay.
Like maybe when used to be small, and when we talk with them and when they reply, in the beginning, how we feel.
Yeah. How babies understand us, or how mother understands baby's needs and baby's feelings. Yeah. Very good. Excellent. Yeah, excellent. And how spiders make a spider web. Huh? What else?
Change of seasons.
Change of seasons. Yeah, beautiful. It's like as if somebody has programmed and timed that the leaves, should fall at this time, and then the green new leaves should start sprouting again. The flowers should start blossoming again. Yeah, seasons. Yeah, very good.
Vastness of ocean.
Huh?
Vastness of
Vastness
ocean.
of oceans. Yes, very good. Hmm?
Gravity.
Gravity. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Can you give an example, Sharon? AI? Okay. Yeah. 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 Even though it's technology, but still, what's the root cause of that? That root cause of the existence of the technology? It's God. Yeah. So, anything else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Uh, I still haven't witnessed it, but Shastras say that there are 8.4 million lack of species.
Yeah.
So out of that, I have just seen few.
Yeah.
So I just keep thinking, where are the rest of the species?
Yeah. So the 8.4 million species of life, they're not only in this universe, they are across all the universes, the multiverse, across all the planets and across all the universes. Okay? Because there's life in sun planet, there's life in moon planet, there's life in all the planets for that matter. Okay? Uh, and the type of species to be able to live in that planet is different. For example, within human being species, there are, I think, 4,000 different human being species. The human being that we know is only this two-handed, two-legged form. But look at Brahma. Some Brahmas, they have 3 heads. Some Brahmas have 4 heads. Some Brahmas have 8 heads. He's also human, but it's a different species. And then there is the Sagara Kanya, right? The what do you call that? Half human and half fish. Mermaid. Mermaid. Yeah. So, yeah, 8.4 million species of life. That's another interesting thing. So, one thing that astonishes me all the time is what's the population of this world?
Human population.
Human population.
7 billion.
7 billion?
Around 7 to 8.
Okay. 7 billion. In the population of 7 billion, there's no single face that is exactly like the other person. It's completely different. It's unique. Though they say that there are 7 people who look alike in this world, but still, there will be some differences. It's unique. Each person's face is unique. Even between the two twins, there will be some differences. There will be some differences. So the face and also a person's voice. Each person's voice is very unique. That's why after you get familiarized with somebody's voice, even if you don't see the person's face, let's say you're walking on the sidewalk, and if you hear a familiar voice from behind, you know whose voice that is. So each person's no, in the very back. In the very back. So each person's face and voice is very unique. Okay. So there is another interesting phenomena. Fibonacci series. How many of you know about Fibonacci series? Okay. Most of us know Fibonacci series. So Fibonacci series is basically it was invented by what is that scientist name who invented Fibonacci only? His name is Fibonacci only, right? Yeah. So some Latin America scientist or mathematician who invented this Fibonacci series. So, so basically, any number in that Fibonacci series is nothing but a sum of previous two numbers. So you start with 1, 1 plus 1, 2, and 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 2, 5 plus 3, 8, and so on. And it goes on indefinitely. Okay? And based on the Fibonacci series, there is something called as golden ratio. Golden ratio is the ratio between two numbers, any number and the previous number. For example, you take 3 and the previous number 2. So 1 plus 1 is 2 and 2 plus 1 is 3. So the ratio between 3 and 2 is 1.16 something. So like that, in the entire Fibonacci series, the ratio between any two numbers is closer to 1.16. That's called golden ratio. And there's nothing great about it, right? There's nothing great about the Fibonacci series itself. There's nothing great about golden ratio itself. These are just facts. But what is great about the creation, or what is great about the design in this creation, is based on the Fibonacci series. Everything that we see in this nature is based on Fibonacci series. So using this golden ratio and the Fibonacci series, if you draw a rectangle and then divide the rectangle into smaller squares, and then you start drawing an arch, cutting the corners of every small square within that big rectangle, it creates certain shape. Okay, I'll show you the shape. And this phenomena is there in many things in nature. The pineapple, okay, the shells on the pineapple, okay, and then the honeybee, and great paintings like Mona Lisa painting is based on Fibonacci series and golden ratio. Or whenever you see somebody's face being beautiful, and if you take an intersection of their face and draw this Fibonacci series and golden ratio rectangle, it exactly matches. Okay, so all these phenomena in the nature tells us that the designer has left his signature in his creation. Just like, whenever you see Apple products, right, there is a signature. They're all white in color, and they're all very, very tiny, lightweight, very slim. So there is some signature, right, in the Apple products. So similarly, God has left his nature in this creation, and it's so mind-boggling. Actually, later on when you go home, go to YouTube and look up Fibonacci series in nature. You'll find mind-boggling facts actually. Okay, even the scientists, they could not explain how it happened. Is it just a myth or just a coincidence, or some intelligence creation? There are mind-boggling facts about that. So that's another interesting thing about God's design. So all these things tell us that there is definitely some intelligent designer behind this creation. Things did not occur randomly. Things did not happen because of evolution. Things did not happen because of Big Bang, phenomena. Okay. So now, based on this discussion, by now we should know that, or we should believe that God exists, right? Or is there anyone still who believes that God does not exist?
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is evolution contradictory to the fact that God exists? why can't evolution happen at the same time that we believe that God also exists?
Yeah. So evolution, the fact that Darwin proposed that evolution theory, saying that all human beings evolved from lowest species of life, which is actually true, right? If you take the 8.4 million species of life before coming to this human life, in our very first life, we were a small living entity, amoeba, or maybe even smaller than that. And then slowly we evolved. We evolved to a cow, and then finally from cow to human being. In one sense, it is correct. Okay, what he said is correct, but Darwin's theory completely discards God in this whole equation. The origin of the small amoeba or even a smaller living entity, which is smaller than amoeba. So what is the cause of the existence of that smaller insect or smaller living entity? It's God only. Whereas Darwin's theory completely discards God in this whole equation. Yeah. So they both can exist as long as they both include God in their discussion. But the moment Darwin's theory does not include God in the whole discussion, then it's useless basically. Yeah. So now, uh, in this world, we see that some people believe in God, some people don't believe in God. So, what do you think are some reasons why some people believe in God and why some people do not believe in God? What could be the reasons?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Sneha, 1 second. Yeah. You only believe what you see or experience. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
There's a lot of evil and injustice in the world. So
Hmm.
people say, if God really exists, then why does he exist?
Okay. Very good. That's a good point. Yeah.
Ignorance towards perception, thinking, so people are very, they don't try to closely understand, they have ignorance,
Hmm.
they are just always to one point, argument.
Okay.
Maybe they tried praying to God in the past about something that they wanted to happen, and God didn't listen, so they said no.
Sorry. Say it again.
Maybe they tried praying to God in the past, but God wouldn't listen, so they said
Okay. Yeah.
So they
That's a good
prayed,
point.
but nothing happened.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. They get frustrated and eventually they stop believing God. Okay.
Might be some people who have always done the right thing, who have always tried to do good karma,
Yeah.
but bad things have happened to them in their life. So
Even
they
after
don't,
doing good
yeah,
karma,
even after
bad things
doing,
happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
good karma. So they
Yeah.
believe that
Yeah.
God doesn't exist.
So these are all the reasons that will explain why people do not believe in God. But why people believe in God? There are some people who believe in God, right? Why? Like for example, all of us, we believe in God, right? Why? Why do we believe in God? Or why do people in general believe in God?
There are few reasons you can say. One is like either because of what they have been believing since the childhood, what they have been taught by the parents is one,
Okay.
or because of their own personal experiences, they've experienced the godliness, so they believe in God,
Okay.
or they have tried other stuff and gone to all the wrong paths and
Yeah.
finally realized that what is the right path, and then they started believing in God.
Okay.
These are some of the things that I can think of.
Yeah. Very good. Anyone else?
I think it comes from the person nature itself. Maybe it's like our because of our past birth, how I was, and that also, because in my this birth also it is with me,
Yeah.
and so by nature I'm kind of thinking, because I have seen many people, even 10-year old guy, he will argue that God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And same 10 years, another person, he will say he has no like this.
Yeah.
So I think it comes because he has not studied, both guys.
Yeah.
But it is coming from their nature itself.
So some past life impressions. Yeah. Okay. Purva Janma Sukruti. Yes. That's another good point. Yeah. What else? Sneha, you were saying something, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
The same things, whatever others shared. Just one thing I wanted to add on. So sometimes what happens is uh, people don't believe in God out of ego, is what I feel.
Out of ego.
Ego.
Yeah.
Like if there's one person in a family member who's too much devoted,
Uh-huh.
then few others get frustrated with it, and they just develop a kind of ego,
Yeah.
and they don't believe in God.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. These are all valid points. Um, so generally, the common reasons why people believe in God is, uh, as someone said, I don't remember who said, maybe you right. They have tried everything else, and when everything else fails, they resort to God. Okay, they try by their own effort to solve some problems. They try taking help from others to solve the problems. They try various other means to get rid of their problems. And when everything else fails, they resort to God. Okay.
Is that belief though, or is it just like if you don't have any other option and you're praying to God,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I have nothing else to lose.
Yeah.
Maybe God exists, but that's not really belief, right?
It's belief. Yeah. What else it can be? It's belief only. Yeah. It's a faith that okay, maybe if I take shelter of God, my problems will be solved. That's faith. Yeah. Another reason could be, another reason why people believe in God could be peer pressure. Just like how we experience peer pressure in schools and at workplace and in the society, uh, in the social media, most predominantly in social media, how we experience peer pressure. So peer pressure is another reason why people believe in God. When a person sees 100 people going to temple, 100 people following God, then he will also think, okay, maybe I should also just follow the crowd. Peer pressure. Maybe I'm missing something if I'm not following God. I'm missing something if I'm not going to temple. So out of peer pressure also, people can start believing in God. Okay. Um, Actually, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains in 7th chapter, there are 4 kinds of people who believe in God or who come to God. Okay. Artho jignashur artharti jnani cha bharatarshaba. Artho. Artho means artha, in distress. Artho jignashur artharti. So first one is artha, and then there is artha. Artha means money, wealth. Artha means distress. Artho jignashur artharti jnani cha bharatarshava. So people who are in distress, that is one category. People who are seeking wealth, okay, who want to become richer and richer, that is second category. Third category, people who are curious to know who is God. Everybody is talking about God, so let me also figure out who is God. Okay, people who are curious. Artho jignasur artharti jnani cha bharatarshava. Jnani means one who wants to cultivate knowledge about God. He wants to know more about God. That is the fourth category. So these are the 4 types of people who come to God. So if you introspect in your leisure time, you will belong to one of these 4 categories. Okay, and the 99% of the people, they fall into the first category, artha, distress. Why people come to God is because they are in distress, some problem, and that's how. Remember in the very first class we discussed, right? By design, the material world is like this. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. The material world was created to be a place of miseries. So we cannot find happiness here. That's why majority of the people in this world, they fall into the first category, who believe in God. Okay. Uh, now, definition of God. So now we all know that God exists. We all believe in God. Okay. So, but who is God? What's the definition of God? Hmm? Any thoughts?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
So this is a saying from the Shastra, what I have heard or learned before. God is, I mean, it's from Parashara Muni, who says that God is someone who possesses all wealth, who's all attractive, who's all famous,
Yeah.
who has renowned. I mean, who is renounced. He
Mhm.
was in a renounced state. Then there are two more. There are actually six factors.
Yeah.
I am unable to recollect all six. I just know three or four.
Okay. Sure. So we'll
But
come to
one
that
is
later. But my
not.
question is mostly based on whatever we have been hearing since childhood, or whatever we have been reading. Right? We all have some understanding of God. You know. So what is that understanding in terms of the definition of God? Who is God? If somebody asks you who is God, what's the definition of God? Huh?
Power beyond us, power higher than us.
Yeah, very good. This is one common understanding, right? We see this many times. Some supernatural power, some higher power. Uh, yes. Okay. What else?
And the path for us to reach.
Yeah, the path is separate, but the God. But okay, God is some higher power, as you said. Okay.
So there's a common, they say, like omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent.
Yeah.
It's a famous thing that I heard.
Yes. Yeah.
It means that he has, he's there everywhere.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
He has all powers, and then he is aware of
The
it.
class in the very back. Yeah, in the back room. Yeah. Hmm.
That's a common definition I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another good one. Yeah. Okay. What else? Haven't we heard that God is some light? Hmm? Yeah. So some spiritual organizations, they say that God is light. Okay. What else?
In many religions, they say he's a heavenly father or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we all have this vague understanding of God. We all know that there is God, but when somebody asks you who is God, then we can't give a straightforward answer. Who is God? That's why there are so many bogus gurus who are the so-called self-proclaimed God. You know, in India we see so many God men, right? That's the correct word actually, God men. So many God men. That most famous example is the recent God man Nityananda. He is a totally rascal, and you know, even after there were so many fraudulent cases on him, still he's attempting to prove that he is God. He has gone to an island, and then he's calling that island as Kailasa, and then he's calling himself as Shiva. Self-proclaimed God men. These are all rascals, and there are people who still follow them even after the entire media and the majority of the world rejects them. Still there are some people who believe that that person is God. Okay. And there were many other people in the past, right, who self-proclaimed that they were God. Okay. There was another idiot, Rajneesh. Okay. Osho Rajneesh. Yeah. So he established an ashram in Portland, and we all know what happened. He was arrested, and then very soon he died. So when people do not know the definition of God as mentioned in the scriptures, then it is very easy for us to fall trap for these bogus gurus who are self-proclaiming themselves as godmen. It's very easy to fall trap. I was almost on the verge of falling trap before coming to ISKCON. I was almost on the verge of falling trap for one of the, bogus gurus who was self-proclaiming as godmen. But luckily, Krishna saved me. I did not fall trap for that. It's very interesting that when you go to these places, right, you'll see some very attractive statements saying that I am not here to prove that I am God. I am here to prove that you are God. Now, when you look at that, you will see, oh wow, he's a very genuine person. He's not saying he's God, but he's saying I am God. But the fact is, neither he is God nor you are God. That's the truth. So if he's saying he is God, or if he's saying you are God, both are bogus. But these are the techniques to allure people. Now, when you see that, you will be really attracted. If you do not have fundamentals of the spirituality and fundamental knowledge from scriptures, when you see that sentence, you will be very attracted. Oh, I am God, and he's here to prove that I am God. Oh, let me go and fall at his feet. So these are the things happening. Okay. So now let's see what is the definition of God here. Some people say God is a person, some people say God is not a person, some people say God is light, some people say God is some higher power, some people say God is unknown, it's an unknown entity. But we can know the unknown using known, right? We can know the unknown using known. And there is a process that is described in the Shastras. There's a description of who God is. There is a definition of what God is. And there is a process to know that unknown God. Okay, using the known, you can know the God. So now, what do we mean when we say God? Cause of all causes and the ultimate source of everything that exists. Sarva Karana Karanam. Cause of all causes and the ultimate source of everything that exists. That's the first definition. There are several definitions of God, but the very first definition is cause of all causes and the ultimate source of everything that exists. In simple words, parent of all parents. Okay, as you said earlier, right? Some religions, they say Heavenly Father. They describe God as Heavenly Father. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says that, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha Manashastrani Indriyani Praktistani Karshati. Krishna says, I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. He himself is saying, I am the father of all living entities. Okay? So he is the parent of all parents. Now, when you look at this definition, right? Cause of all causes and the ultimate source of everything that exists. So cause of all causes, okay, that makes sense. So let's understand, let's assume that he's the cause of the cause for our existence, or he's the cause for our existence. Okay, but what is the cause of his existence? That's the question. What's the cause of God's existence? If God is the cause of our existence, what is the cause of God's existence? The answer is there's no cause. There's no cause for God's existence, because he is the one who is the cause of everything in this world. There's no cause for him. There's no cause for his existence. He is Sarva Karana Karanam. Brahma, in his Brahma Samhita prayers, he says that Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So Brahma is a living entity like us, but he is a higher he's a living entity of higher species in a higher planet in the material within the material world. Okay. So he after long tapas and realization, Brahma recited prayers describing who God is. He says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. So he is that person who has created everything and there's no cause for him. Now, doesn't it sound like Big Bang Theory? Huh? Right? You're about to say that. Yeah. So Big Bang Theory also says that everything, the entire universe came about from a small point. Now God is also saying that God or representatives of God like Brahma, they are also saying similar to what Big Bang scientists said. Everything came from God, but there's no cause for God. It's almost like Big Bang Theory. But the difference is, even though it sounds similar, but the difference is, Big Bang Theory, you cannot verify. There's no process to verify. And the scientist who wrote Big Bang Theory, he himself said, this Big Bang Theory is neither mathematically quantifiable and scientifically measured. It cannot be proven, basically. But the scriptures, they have a process to verify who God is and to verify the fact that He is the cause of everybody in this world and He has no cause. There's a process to verify that. But what is the problem? The interesting thing is, Big Bang Theory, even after the scientists who wrote the Big Bang Theory, they themselves are declaring that it cannot be verified. Still, there are millions of people who are ready to verify that, who are eager to verify that, and they're ready to spend any amount of money to verify that. But the problem is, the scriptures, when the scriptures are saying God is Sarvakarana Karanam, and there is a process given in scriptures to verify the existence of God and to verify that He is the cause of all causes and He has no cause. The problem is nobody is ready to verify that. Nobody is ready to follow that process to verify that. People would generally say that I'll believe in God only when I see Him. Show me God and I'll believe. Now, if you take the example of a president, right? If somebody wants to meet president, can anybody just like that, can they meet president? There is a 6 months training. First of all, the very first question they'll ask is, okay, you want to meet president, but who are you? What's your eligibility to meet president? Okay, let's say you have some identity which qualifies you to meet president. That itself is not sufficient, right? There is a process. 6 months, that person undergoes some training. And there is a lot of security, background check, everything. They don't just take him to the president, right? Now, if that citizen says that I'll believe in the existence of president only when I see him. Now, he is not putting any attempt to undergo this training or to become eligible. First of all, he is not ready to do this, and he is saying, I cannot believe that president exists unless I see him. So 99% of the people in this world, they say that okay, I'll not believe God unless I see Him. But to be able to see God, you need to become eligible. You need to follow certain process given in scriptures, and you need to become eligible to be able to see God. Okay? So, so definition of God, continuing further. So the first definition is Sarva Karana Karanam, cause of all causes. Okay? Now, next one is Supreme Proprietor. The first one we can summarize in two words: Supreme Creator. Sarva Karana Karanam. That we can put it in two words as Supreme Creator. Okay? Supreme Creator, Supreme Proprietor, Supreme Enjoyer, and then Supreme Controller. Because he has created everything, he owns everything. Right? Obviously, right? If you write a piece of code, you own it. That's your intellectual property. You can file a patent if it is so good. You can file a patent and you own it. You own that piece of software. It's your intellectual property. You can even sell it. Because God has created this entire universe, He's the proprietor. In this material world, we are trying to become proprietors. Even though we are not the creators of anything, but we are trying to be proprietor of everything. That's our problem. So when we buy a home, temporarily we can say that we are the owner of the home. We are the proprietor of the home. But 100 years from now, who will own that home? Maybe our children. But 200 years down the lane, who will own that home? Someone else. And in many countries, the government can own the house. Government can claim the ownership of the house if they need it. For road extension or for any other government projects, if they need your property, they can acquire your property. So even though you are saying you are the owner or proprietor of the house temporarily, but there's no guarantee that you will be the permanent owner or proprietor of that. If nobody takes the property, after some time you will die and you will no longer be the owner or proprietor of the property. Someone else will own the property. It could be your children or neighbor or some other person. But we are trying to be the proprietor of everything. So the example given here in this slide is fighting for a seat in the train even after it is gone. It happens in India, right? So in a crowded train, when two people are fighting for a seat, they both want to sit in that seat, and then they fight for some time. The fight continues for several hours, and then their destination comes. They both get off the train, and still they're continuing fighting. And they completely forget what is the reason why they are fighting for. But what is the reason why they are fighting for? They are fighting for that seat in the train. The train is gone, they have arrived at their destination, and they have completely forgotten the reason why they are fighting for, but they are still fighting for. Basically, they are fighting for proprietorship. The seat belongs to one person for a few hours, but two people are fighting for that as if it is their permanent asset. Just like that we are doing, everything in this material world. Just like children, when they go to beach, they build sand castles, and then they think it's permanent, but very soon a big tide comes and washes it away. Supreme Enjoyer, because he is the creator of everything and he is the owner of everything. He has complete authority to enjoy everything that he has created. But whereas we are trying to enjoy things that we have not created, we are trying to enjoy things that we do not own, and we are envious of others who own different things. There is jealousy and envy, right? What is the difference between jealousy and envy?
Envy is wanting something that somebody else has.
Mm-hmm.
Jealousy is fear that something that you have will be taken away from you.
No, that's anxiety. The fear the fear of losing something that you already have, that's anxiety. Yeah. So difference between jealousy and envy. Even though they sound like synonyms, but there's a clear difference.
Does envy have an element of hatred? I envy you, so it's probably a higher level of jealousy. Jealousy, you're just feeling bad because you don't have something that the other person has.
Yeah.
But envy, you take it a notch higher because now you hate that person because.
Yeah, it is definitely higher level of jealousy, but what is that subtle difference between jealousy and envy?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
So, envy is something where if someone possesses something which we already have
Uh-huh.
and we don't want that person to have it.
Yeah, very good. Jealousy is when you when you see um, when you see somebody possessing something that you don't have. That's envy. But no, that's jealousy. That's jealousy. Envy is a higher level of jealousy. Envy is a hatred, as you said. Um, but the hatred is such that you will question that why that person even has that. In the first level, why I don't have it. Jealousy is why I don't have it. The other person has it, why I don't have it. Envy is that person, whatever he has, why does he or she has it, first of all? That's envy. Okay? Even if you have it. Okay? Let's say two neighbors, they buy 75 inches TV. Okay? So there's no jealousy, right? There's no jealousy. Because this person also has 75 inches TV, that person also has 75 inches TV. And they both bought the same brand from same Costco. So there is no scope for jealousy there. There's no question of why I don't have. Even after possessing something, the envy is that why my neighbor has that TV. Why my neighbor has that TV. That's envy. You have it, you enjoy it. But the question is, why my neighbor has it? Because you will be more happy if the neighbor does not have and you have it. So that's how envy works. Okay.
That used to happen in 1990.
Owner's pride and neighbor's envy, yeah?
When this color TV and black and white, started changing in India.
Yeah. Now, Onida TV, I remember their marketing line is owner's pride and neighbor's envy. Yeah. So, proprietor. Talking about the proprietor, so by trying to become proprietors of things in this material world, what are we doing exactly? We're trying to accumulate everything, isn't it? We're trying to accumulate everything. We're trying to accumulate things that we do not need also. So many things that we don't need. If you go to our garage or every room of our house, there are so many things that we really don't need. And there are many things in our house that we haven't touched or used for several years. They're still lying in the home. Shastras say anything that we do not use for 1 year, we should give it away. We should donate it. That's why this concept of spring cleanup in the modern countries is a good thing actually. When you do spring cleanup, you will identify what are the things that you are not using in the home and you want to create more space. And then all the things that you don't use, you just donate. And another thing that Shastra says is, if we keep things in our home for a prolonged time and we are not using them, it actually creates negative energy.
Lakshmi.
Hmm?
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi?
It brings Alakshmi.
Alakshmi, yeah, inauspiciousness. It creates inauspiciousness, negative energy. So that's why it's good to follow that spring cleanup process. Yeah. So now there is a small story about this proprietor um proprietor mentality, right? So once there was a king who was not religious at all, who never believed in God, and um, he was always focusing on his material comforts and his enjoyment. He was not making any attempt to practice spirituality. Then a sadhu wanted to teach him a lesson. So one day the sadhu goes to the king and tells the king that, "O king, I have two news for you. One good news, one bad news. The bad news is that you are going to die in 1 month." The king is so worried. The king asks, "What is the good news?" The sadhu says, "Even though you will die, but the good news is you will go to heavenly planets." And then the sadhu continues. But again, there is a good news and bad news. The king asks, "What is the good news?" Uh, the sadhu says, "In the heavenly planet, you will get a huge palace for you, much bigger than what you have here in your kingdom. You will get a bigger, much beautiful palace, more beautiful palace." But what is the bad news? Sadhu says, "There will be mosquitoes in that palace." And the sadhu continues. But again, there is a good news and bad news. Sadhu says, the good news is there will be a mosquito net to prevent mosquitoes. But what is the bad news? There's a hole in the mosquito net. and then the sadhu finally says, uh, but you take a needle when you are going to heavenly planets so that you can stitch the hole and be safe. And then the sadhu leaves. The sadhu leaves. And then the king, he's scratching his head and he's thinking, "Oh, wait a minute. How should I take needle? How should I take a needle to heavenly planets?" He immediately rushes to the sadhu and asks him, "Hey, how can I take a small piece of needle to heavenly planet?" Then the sadhu says, "That's the whole point. You cannot even take a small needle to the heavenly planets. You cannot even take a small needle with you after you die. Why are you putting so much effort, and why are you so stressed out to accumulate everything in this material world? Why do you want to be Alexander the Great? Why are you exploiting the resources in this material world for your own enjoyment? Why are you exploiting things that are meant for others' enjoyment?" And then he gets some enlightenment, and then he starts hearing from the sadhu and becomes a nice bhakta. Okay. So thinking of the needle, I got reminded of another story that explains how our faith in this world, on God is. Okay, how different people have different types of faith on God. Okay, so once uh, Narada Muni, Narada Muni is uh, he's a what do you call? There is a specific name, just like Spider-Man and Batman, spaceman. Okay, he's a transcendental spaceman. He's a transcendental spaceman. He can go across the 3 planetary systems without any visa, without any license, without anybody's permission. He can go to heavenly planets, earthly planet, and hellish planets. He can travel across the three planetary systems. He's a transcendental spaceman. Okay. So once Narada Muni comes to earthly planet, and he's walking in a village, and he sees a Brahmana. The Brahmana thinks that Narada Muni, he's a sadhu. He does not know that he is Narada Muni, right? He thinks, okay, some sadhu is coming. Uh, let me get some good piece of advice from him. And then the Brahmana asks Narada Muni, "O sadhu, looks like you are a self-realized person. Looks like you know about God. So can you tell me, when will I get an opportunity to go back to God?" Then Narada Muni says, "Okay, I'll ask God and tell you." Then after After a few minutes, Narada Muni sees a cobbler. You know cobbler, right? One who stitches skin and the leather and those things. He's basically Shudra. The first one is a higher class person, Brahmana, who is supposed to be a well-known and learned person, Pandita, who is supposed to be Pandita. But the second example is cobbler, an illiterate, lower caste person. So he also sees this sadhu and he asks him, "Oh sadhu, looks like you are a realized person. You are a sadhu. Can you please tell me when will I get an opportunity to go to God?" Then Narada Muni says the same thing to the cobbler. "I'll ask when I go to God." Then Narada Muni goes to Vishnu and then asks these two questions. Then Vishnu replies to Narada Muni saying that, "Tell to the Brahmana that he will take much longer to come back to me. He will take many, many lifetimes to come back to me." And then Narada Muni is surprised because that person is a Brahmana. He is supposed to be a literate, learned, scholarly person and a devotee of God. But Vishnu is saying that he will take many, many lifetimes to go back to Godhead. And then Mahavishnu continues saying that the other person, the second person, cobbler, he will come back to me in this lifetime itself. And Narada Muni is even more sharp now. Then he says, okay, I'll convey your message as it is to these two living entities. He comes back to earthly planet and he goes to Brahmana first. And then he tells Brahmana that, okay, I met with God. God said you will take many, many lifetimes to go back to Godhead. The Brahmana gets very angry, saying that, oh, how can you say that, I'll take many, many lifetimes to go back to Godhead? Am I so fallen? I'm nicely practicing bhakti and I'm so learned. I'm a scholarly person. I do not even believe that you actually met God. You are just making up some story. I do not believe in what you are saying. So give me some indication or show or prove me that you actually met with God. Then Narada Muni tells to the Brahmana that, the Brahmana asks Narada Muni, so tell me what exactly God was doing when you met him. Then Narada Muni tells to the Brahmana that God was threading an elephant through the eye of the needle. God was threading an elephant, a big elephant, through the eye of the needle. Basically sending, a big elephant, a gigantic, huge elephant, through the eye of the needle. The needle is very small and the eye of the needle is even more smaller. And the elephant is so gigantic. So then Brahmana says, oh, come on, this is such a nonsense. How can God even do this? How can God send a gigantic elephant through the small eye of the needle? I don't believe that you actually met with God. You are just lying. You are making up some story. Then Narada Muni understood why Mahavishnu said that this Brahmana will take several lifetimes to go back to Godhead. So then Narada Muni goes to cobbler and he tells the same thing. Whatever Mahavishnu said, he tells to the cobbler saying that Mahavishnu said, you will actually go back to Godhead in this lifetime itself. And the cobbler becomes very jubilant. He is very happy. He dances up and down, and he pays his gratitude to the sadhu, and he is very happy. Then Narada Muni is bewildered, looking at the cobbler's response, and he asks the cobblers, have you actually believed in whatever I said? Do you actually believe that I actually met with God? Do you believe in that? And do you actually believe in what I'm saying? And the cobbler says, yes, I'm totally believing in you. I totally believe that you actually met with God. Then Narada Muni continues to explain, saying that, you know what God was doing when I met with him? The cobbler does not ask, but Narada Muni only continues explaining. God was actually threading a gigantic elephant through the small eye of the needle. Then cobbler says, "Oh, my Lord is great. He can do anything. My Lord is great. He can do anything." And then the Nardamuni asked cobbler, "Oh, how can you believe that? Doesn't it doesn't make sense to me. How does it make sense to you that God can send a gigantic elephant through the small eye of the needle?" Then the cobbler replies saying that, "Oh Sadhu, I'm sitting under this huge banyan tree. This huge, gigantic banyan tree, once upon a time, it was a small seed. That small seed fructified into such a gigantic tree. When God can put such a gigantic tree in small seed like this, why can't my Lord send a gigantic elephant through the eye of the needle?" Then Narada Muni completely understood why Mahavishnu said, these two things to Brahmana and cobbler. So that's how the faith levels vary in this material world. How different people have different types of faith in God. Some people they look at the great things and beautiful things in this material world, and they appreciate uh, they appreciate the creation and they appreciate God. But some people they don't see God in that. Okay. Now continuing our discussion here. Enjoyer, supreme enjoyer, right? Uh, Obviously, when we don't create anything, when we don't own anything, when we are not the proprietor, we don't have any right to say that I am the enjoyer. Okay? If you are a temporary proprietor, you are a temporary enjoyer. But we can never say that I am the supreme enjoyer and I am the ultimate enjoyer, and I am the enjoyer of everything in this world. You have a certain quota to enjoy certain things. Ishopanishad, there is another scripture that says that every living entity, not only human beings, but every living entity, birds, animals, trees, every living entity, at the time of birth, a particular quota is set aside for them. A particular quota of food is set aside for them. In India, we have this concept of ration, right? Huh? So government, ration is a scheme for low-income group people. So they allocate every month. They send like 5 kgs of rice, 2 kgs of dal, and so on. So there is a quota for every month. Okay, just like that, when we take birth in this world, God has set aside a specific quota for everyone. And if we are consuming anything more than that, we are actually enjoying what is meant to be enjoyed by others. We are actually consuming what is meant to be consumed by others. In one sense, it's a sinful thing. It's a sinful thing to do that. If we are over consuming, if we are trying to enjoy many things in this world, it's actually a sinful activity. So we don't realize these things, but when we go to Costco with an intention to buy one roll of paper towel, we end up buying a basket full of shopping cart full of stuff. So that's why it's very important to pay attention to these small things. Just because somebody is able to afford, we should not just go and buy things that we don't actually need. Okay, supreme enjoyer. So imagine a great businessman, a big businessman. He has multiple businesses. Let's say hotel business. The most popular thing in America is Patel Motel. Patel Motel. So the number of hotels in US, uh, the major share. There were some numbers. I was recently looking at those. I think. Um, So what is Indian population in America? Is it 1%, 2%? About, right? About 1 to 2%, not more than that. But the market share by Indians, especially Patels, who own these motels, is about 40%. They have 40% market share in owning the hotels or motels. So, uh, so what do these people do? The Patels or the hotel owners, what do they do? Every day at the end of the day, they go to different hotels, or maybe at the end of the month, they go to different hotels, and then at the front desk, they take all the collection. All the money that was received in the whole month or in the same day, they just collect that money and then go. And the person who is working very hard since morning, day and night, does he have any right to enjoy that money? No. He has certain quota aside for him, that salary, monthly salary. That is what he can enjoy. But if he tries to enjoy all the money that was collected during the day or during the entire month, then it's not correct. So that's what we are trying to do in this material world. We are trying to become supreme enjoyers. We are trying to exploit and enjoy everything. Next one is supreme controller. So we are trying to control so many things in this world, but are we the controllers? Are we actually controlling things happening within our own body? Are we able to control things within our family? Are we able to control our colleagues? Are we able to control our neighbors? Are we able to control our children? We cannot control. We cannot control our own mind. We cannot control many things that are happening, many functionalities that are happening in our own body. For example, do we know how going down? No? Yeah. I'll be done in few minutes. So do we know how food is digested? Does anyone know how food is digested?
Microbes in our gut.
Microbes?
Yeah, gut.
Okay. Acids? Yeah.
Bacteria.
Bacteria? Huh? Agni, very good. Jataragni. Okay. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Okay, yeah, thank you. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva. I am that digesting factor in every living entity. So the Jataragni, which is needed to digest food in our body, is actually Krishna's source. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva. That is one form of God actually. Vaishwanaro Bhutva. The specific name is Vaishwanara. Aham means I. I am that Vaishwanara. Just like we have Ishvara, Vishnu, Krishna, Rama. Similarly, the specific name Vaishwanara is the name for the Jataragni. That is a form of God. Okay. Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva. I am that Agni that digests food in everybody. Yeah, Hare Krishna. So we cannot even control the food that we have eaten. Somebody else is digesting the food that we have eaten. So now what to speak of controlling others? Yeah? What to speak of controlling wife or husband? So there was a small story during Akbar Birbal's time frame. So one day Akbar asks Birbal, bring all the men from the society who are very obedient, who are obedient to first Akbar says, bring all the men in front of me, all the men from this village, bring everybody in front of me into this assembly. Then Birbal brings all the men into the assembly. Then Akbar asks all the men who follow their wives' instructions, they all come this side. Okay. Then about quite a few number of people, about 99% of the people, they come to this side. But there is one person who is standing on that side. Then Akbar asks that person, "Oh, you don't follow your wife's instructions?" Then that person says, yes, king, I follow. I am always obedient to my wife. I always follow her instructions. But at this moment, I do not have her permission to come to that side. I do not have her permission to come to that side. That's why I'm standing here. So, so this is how we are able to. This is how much we can control things in this world. Okay. We don't control our body. We don't control how the hair grows. We are forced to go to the restroom. We are forced to eat. We are forced to go to restroom. We don't control these things. Now, further continuation of the definition of God. So it's either all or none. Okay. So what are the 4 different things that we discussed? Supreme Creator. Okay. Supreme Proprietor. Supreme Enjoyer. Supreme Controller. 4 things. So it's either all or none. You cannot control things that you have not that you are not owning, and you cannot own something that you have not created, and you cannot enjoy something that you don't own. So it's either all or none. But what are we trying to do? We have not created anything in this world. Rather, we are destroying everything every day. We have not created anything, but we are trying to become the other 3. We are trying to become the proprietors. We are trying to become the enjoyers. We are trying to become the controllers. That's the root cause of all our problems in life. The moment we accept or acknowledge that God is the creator, God is the proprietor, God is the controller, God is the enjoyer, I am just an instrument in God's hands, and many problems will be solved. But the root cause of our problems is our doership mentality, our proprietorship mentality, our controllership mentality, and our enjoyership mentality. Okay. Okay, I think I am not sharing the slides for online people. We'll wind up in few minutes. Yeah, you had a question?
So if we don't have a sense of proprietorship or controllership or enjoyership, how do we get motivated? Basically, motivation is like, okay, I need to acquire something, even though if it is temporary, or I need to control something, or I need to enjoy something.
Yeah.
How do we get motivation if we don't? If we basically completely say, I'm not going to acquire anything, I'm not going to control anything, I'm not going to own anything, how do we get motivation to do anything else?
Yeah. So you acquire things. Shastras do not say that you don't acquire anything. So because you have a material body, and when we are living in the material body, we have to acquire certain things to maintain our body and to live in this material world. But what Shastras are saying that do not accumulate things that you don't need. Do not accumulate things that are meant for others. Do not exploit the nature. Do not exploit the resources. Simple living and high thinking. That's what Shastras prescribe. Simple living, high thinking. For example, farm life. Somebody leading a life of a farmer or a cowherd boy who is protecting cows. It's a very simple life, and they are the most happiest people actually. So we, in the name of modern civilization, technology, all these things, we are working so hard, like dogs and donkeys, in the pursuit of happiness, in the pursuit of accumulating so many things, believing that those things will actually make me happy. But are they really making us happy? The external objects, the sense objects, The Vishayendriyas, they don't give us satisfaction. They give you temporary happiness. As you said, right? How will I get motivated if I'm not acquiring, right? When you acquire things, you will get temporary happiness. But that happiness fades away. With every material object has a shelf life or an expiry date. As soon as the shelf life has expired, that happiness also expires. And then now you have to look for happiness in newer objects. So it's always hankering for happiness in newer objects, and it's never ending. Rather, if you apply and follow this simple principle, simple living and high thinking, then you will actually not acquire many things. You'll not acquire things that you don't need. You will not do things that are actually not needed. You'll be very happy. Yeah. There are many examples actually. Even though this philosophy from Shastras, simple living and high thinking, may sound very impractical in this modern age, but it is practical. There are several cases, several live examples of this, of people who are following this principle. For example, within US, there are some villages who are following this simple living and high thinking. And this is completely American community who have left this world, who have left the technology and the modern civilization, sophistication, science and everything. And they have created some self-sustaining villages. They do everything, right from farming, animal protection, uh, and then making products by themselves, selling them and getting a small amount of money for their survival. And believe it or not, these villages, they do not have electricity. They do not have electricity. And these are Western people who are living without electricity. No power, no heat, no gadgets,
No money.
some amount of money, because for their survival they need some amount of money, and they make products within their village. Like for example, if they have cows, they make cow products. They get milk and they make several cow products, and then they sell those products in the market and get some amount of money so that they can maintain themselves. Yeah. So there is one village near Vancouver called Sharanagati. The name of the village is Sharanagati. All Western people. All Western people. You will not see a single Indian there. All Western people. They are following this simple living and high thinking. And there is another village near Charlotte in North Carolina. There are quite a few villages like this within America. Hmm?
In New Jersey.
In New Jersey?
One village is there.
Yeah.
We visited there.
You visited that?
Yeah, they produce the product that is plant product like honey.
Yeah.
Also juices and they.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Mm.
All those.
Yeah. So simple living and high thinking.
Motorbike, or car, anything.
Yeah. They don't have tractors to plow the field. Yeah. So simple living and high thinking. Yeah. So even in India, many villages are like this. Okay. So it's 7:48. I think in 10 minutes the Aarti will start. So what we discussed so far? So we discussed who is behind the creation. We're trying to discover the root. Okay, creation implies creator, law implies a lawmaker. Nothing orderly happens by chance. Okay, and we started discussing the definition of God: supreme source of everything, supreme creator, supreme controller, supreme proprietor, supreme enjoyer. Okay.
Prabhu, is there a contradiction on this? Like, if you're saying creation implies a creator,
Mm-hmm.
but that does not apply to the creator himself,
Yeah.
because the creator is the supreme source of everything.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that contradictory?
It is contradictory, but even the scientists, law of conservation of energy, what does it say? Energy is neither created nor destroyed, right? So now, when somebody is talking about a dead matter, that the matter or energy can never be created nor be destroyed. Now, why can't God exist without a cause?
It can, but then so can other things, right?
Hmm?
So can other things.
So can other things in the material world.
Anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, we can move on.
Yeah. See, even all of us, the spirit souls in the spiritual world, God has not created us. God has created the material world, and God has uh, created us in this material world. The cause of the living entities in the material world is God. But in the spiritual world, even all of us, we are eternal. God is eternal and we are also eternal. Now, what's the definition of eternality? Eternality means anadi ananta. No beginning, no ending. No birth, no death. So, some people say that, okay, initially there was only God and God was feeling bored. He decided to create people so that he can play with them. No, that's not true. We are all eternal. All the jivas, including God, we are all eternal. We exist eternally. No beginning, no end, no birth, no death. But God is the supreme jiva. We are all minute jivas, and God is that supreme Ishvara. Okay? So that that philosophy, Sarva Karana Karanam, cause of all causes, uh, even though it contradicts with this statement here, creation implies creator, even though it is not clear to us. Okay, let me put it in that way. Even though it is not clear to us, the Sarva Karana Karanam. Okay, now our scientifically bent mind, which always works based on logic and reasoning, is not ready to accept this statement, Sarva Karana Karanam, right? So we always, even though we say that God is the cause of everything, we always ask, who has created God? And even though Brahma says that God is Sarvakarana Karanam, still we ask, who has created God? So even though we don't accept that with our scientifically bent mind, but if we follow the bhakti process, then it will become clear to us. And there are many realized souls who have seen this truth, who have seen this absolute truth. Okay? Because with our material efforts, it is impossible to know how Sarvakarana Karanam is actually possible. How God can exist without any cause. With our material efforts, we cannot understand. Now, right now, we know this only theoretically. But a realized person can know this. A realized person can know about their own self. They can know about God, and they can also know how God can exist without any cause. Yeah. So in the spiritual, another small clarification, and then we'll end with that. In the spiritual world, even though all the souls, they were not created by God, but they cannot exist without God. Just like sun and sun rays. Sun rays cannot exist without sun. Even though sun rays are actually separate from the sun disk itself, but sun rays cannot exist without sun. Similarly, in the spiritual world, God, even though God has not created the spirit souls, but the spirit souls cannot exist without God. Okay, He is the maintainer of all the spirit souls. Okay, so all these things will become clear as we practice this path of bhakti, and when we realize this knowledge, when we get the practical realization of this knowledge, then we'll understand these things. Yeah. Okay, so I think it's about 8. Aarti will start now, and I'm sure many kids are still in the prasadam hall waiting for the parents. So we'll conclude here and we'll meet next week. Okay? Thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna. See ya. Yeah, we'll see you next week.